welcome back to the Sinister Sisters podcast. I'm Felicia.
And I'm Lauren.
And we're best friends.
And we like scary movies.
And that's it.
That's our whole thing.
That's the whole thing. That's all we do. Today.
So we're really excited because we're going to talk about our favorite movie for the first time on screen together. Midsommar.
Yes, it's true.
Favorite recent movie, I should say.
It's true. And we both actually sort of randomly rewatched it.
Yes.
In the last couple weeks.
Yes. And Felicia brought to my attention how similar it is to The Wicker Man.
Yes. Well, we
literally never thought about it.
We talked about doing a episode about cults, but that felt really big.
Yes.
That felt like a little, like, we need to scale down a little bit.
Yes.
So we were thinking about these two movies and how they would be great in conversation together.
Yes.
And just for the record, we are not talking about the 2006 Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage.
Although I have one comment about it.
Oh!
I know.
Can we say it now? Or
no,
later?
it's a just like a random thing.
Okay.
I have to include.
Oh, I can't wait.
I hate Nicolas Cage. But
that's
not
Nicolas
part of
Cage.
it.
I hated Nicolas Cage until the day I saw Mandy, and then I was changed.
I guess I got to see it.
I was changed. I'm also gonna go see Color Out of Space this weekend, which is also Nicolas Cage.
Is it horror?
Yeah, it's a oh my god.
Psychedelic.
It's a psychedelic, but it's based off of a
comic book strip.
No, we're just gonna delete this whole part out because
cereal
like
box.
Idiot. Lovecraft. Oh my god. Wow. I feel like I just went in a trance.
I mean,
of Nicolas Cage flashing across my brain, and then came out with Lovecraft. But it's based off a Lovecraft story, and the trailer looks really crazy. It looks Mandy-esque. Same producers.
That's what I felt, but I'd never seen Mandy, so it felt unfair to judge.
You should see it.
But it seems like Mandy.
Do you want some more wine before we start?
Oh, wow.
You empty.
What service?
You empty. This wine's called Poppy.
And it says right here, $8.99.
I didn't even see that. This
is what I brought Felicia, so I can insult it.
No, there was, this wine's actually okay.
ASMR?
Oh, yeah. Pour. Sip, sip. The only wine that you ever brought that was really bad
was one.
She got a deal on a giant bottle of wine that was like 3 wines in one.
And it was maybe $7? I don't know.
And as soon as she started pouring it, it started having like
fizzing.
And I was like, this can't be right.
And it wasn't.
And it wasn't right. It wasn't right. But this is fine.
This is nice.
Yeah. We've improved.
We wish we could share with you.
Better every day.
Through the screen.
Cheers to you.
Cheers to you. Through the microphones, through the screen. Okay, we're talking about Wicker Man, 1973, baby.
Yes. Before we talk about Wicker Man.
Sorry.
I want to talk a little bit, like a barely bit, just about what is connecting these movies, which is the subgenre of folk horror. It's a rather, I would say, small subgenre, and not one that I think we talk about a lot, or I don't talk about a lot on my channel. But it has a couple of things that encompass both these movies, and that I think are interesting to sort of start us off.
Yes. Love that.
So the main or the biggest thing is that folk horror movies have a huge emphasis on landscape. Nature. And isolated locations. Yes, so it's typically you have a community of people that have fled urban environments, and in a very cult-like way, will go out into nature. And so a lot of the movie is like big landscapes. So in Midsommar, of course, we have like the big, beautiful green mountain and all this stuff. And even though Wicker Man has a slightly like gloomier look to it, it's not as like sharp. Bright
colors, yeah.
Yeah. It still is like very open. It's not it's not small. It feels folk horror feels like more vast, more open.
Lots of mountains.
And it also tends to be about groups creating their own morals, their own laws, their own norms within their one community, as cults do.
Right.
And particularly it seems around sex and violence and what those means, and religion. And they tend to have a lot of pagan themes throughout them. Mm-hmm. Something I found on the internet was that the term of folk horror sort of came about initially through this group of movies that someone has called the Unholy Trinity. which I think is a very epic name for something.
I love it.
I will link the article down below that I stole this from because I thought it was well written, and I did not write it. But the 3 movies are Michael Reeves's Witchfinder General, which is from 1968. Piers Haggard's The Blood on Satan's Claw from 1971, and Robin Hardy's The Wicker Man. Here we are, from 1973. And so I also think, even though obviously Midsommar is a very new movie, when I think about folk horror, I really do think about hippy-dippy, culty 70s vibes. And I'm sure that's because of my association to The Wicker Man. But that, even in Midsommar, even though that is not the vibe of Midsommar, that is still sort of my lens over it, is hippy-dippy 70s.
But I would say it is.
Yeah, it's got parts. It's got something.
Yeah. Definitely, the first time I feel like that friend talks in Midsommar, you're like, oh, you're a hippie.
Yeah, exactly.
He has long hair.
They're all doing drugs.
Yeah.
Totally. So do you want to start with Wicker Man?
Yeah.
This was the first time. Wait, right?
Yes, this is the first time I saw it.
Same here.
I had seen the Nicolas Cage one.
I have never seen the Nicolas Cage one.
I believe I was actually forced to watch the Nicolas Cage one as exposure therapy.
By who?
A
doctor?
No, I think my ex-boyfriend.
Oh, well, that's why he's an ex-boyfriend.
I think.
Just kidding.
No, I actually can't remember why we watched it, but I think he was just this is hilarious.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of punching women.
Did I tell you that over Christmas break, I feel like a lot of families struggle with this of after you eat dinner, we're all going to watch a movie together. What are you going to watch?
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to figure out what you're going to watch. And eventually someone...
It never takes any time in my family.
Oh my God.
Do you know why?
No.
Because I say, this is what we're watching.
Oh my God.
That's not really true. Most of the time I'm like, what if we watch this movie? No one responds. I put it in.
Quick. That's hilarious. In my family, it's my mom's
I don't
want to see any naked people. I don't want to see any violence. She's not Jewish. I don't know where that accent came from. She's from the South.
She'd say, I believe
in the Lord Jesus Christ. Mom, I'm sure you're watching this. Obviously, I know you don't sound like that. I love you very much.
And we love your Southern accent.
We do.
We actually I wish I had one.
You could have one.
I put it on sometimes.
Yeah, she's from Virginia. It's enough. It's enough.
Close.
And then my dad likes to watch serious things. I don't know. So it's it's always hard to find something we can all watch as a family that is somewhat appropriate.
And so you watched The Wicker Man?
No. And so Andreas, my brother, was like, oh, what's this Nicolas Cage movie, Season of the Witch? And I was like, Andreas, I can tell you I've never seen it, but it does have a 5% or something on Rotten Tomatoes, and apparently it is the worst movie ever made. And he was like, we gotta watch it! And so we turned it on, and the first 5 minutes, I mean, clearly it was the worst movie ever made. It was everyone was in their own movie. No one was in the same movie. It was very strange. And then about half an hour in, I would say everyone in my family just passed out, including Andreas. Maybe we were all in desperate need for a nap, and that was that.
So you don't know anything about it?
So I don't know anything about it other than it was not good. But that's not what we're talking about today. What are we talking about
Wicker
today,
Man,
Lauren?
1973. So, I didn't look up how to say this word and now I'm embarrassed. But it's set on an island in the Scottish...
Hebrides.
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 They all say it in an accent, so I have no idea how it's said.
Isn't there another thing it's called, too?
Yes, Felicia. How kind of you to bring that up.
Yeah, well, you keep talking and I'll find it.
But it's basically a police sergeant comes onto this island, comes in this community to investigate the disappearance of a little girl.
Yes.
Named Rowan. What a weird name.
I know, but I kind of like that name now.
Oh, she's naming her daughter.
I kind of like
she's
that.
pregnant. I revealed it.
What? No way.
Anyway, he receives an anonymous letter
Summer
and
Isle.
comes to Summer Isle.
Summer Isle. They say that a bunch.
Oh. Well, because isn't that the leader's name?
I don't know.
Lord Summer Isle.
Oh, Lord Summer Isle. I see.
Now she remembers. She just calls him Christopher Lee.
I do.
Anyway, so...
Can't wait to talk about him in this movie.
This police sergeant comes in, and he is a devout Christian, which is key because this group of islanders are all worshiping the pagan Celtic gods.
Yes.
And so, lots of weird things are happening. people are having sex in the fields.
Everywhere!
So fast.
There are more naked people. Okay, there's a lot of naked people in this, but I will say I watched Hostel last night, and that might have won for the most naked people.
Wow.
But there are a lot of naked people in this.
There are a lot of naked people. So he, like, at night at some point sees, like, a bunch of naked people having sex in the field, and he's like, what's going on?
Yes.
And then...
and he's also, he's so Catholic that he is not, he's a virgin. He's not gonna have sex until he's married. I think he's engaged.
He's engaged.
Yes.
Betrothed.
Betrothed. And so he really is looking around and is so shocked and overwhelmed by the sin that is going down over here on this island.
Does it happen first? So he, like, where he's staying, the landlord's daughter is, like, beautiful.
Yes.
This beautiful
Beautiful blonde lady.
Scottish woman. And so she kind of tries to seduce him.
Yes.
There's a scene where she's just, like, dancing naked in her room, and he's...
That's my favorite scene.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I mean, her body is great.
her body is great. Also, she was pregnant, I think, and they did body doubles for some of that. Is that the right actress?
You're just making up
I think
stuff
that happened.
left and right. I'm just kidding.
If it didn't happen, then, I'm just wrong. But, or maybe it was a different actress. But, okay, the singing, so there's a lot of singing in this movie.
A lot of singing.
Which was also shocking to me.
Me too.
How much singing there was. But there's definitely, in terms of, like, yes, there's, like, some pagan themes going on. Some of the singing does feel very, like an incantation kind of deal. And I'm sorry, I'm just jumping ahead right to this moment, but you mentioned it, so I'm talking about it. But that moment where she's in the other room and she's singing naked and dancing and, like, hitting the wall in this, like, really dramatic way.
Felicia's done that also.
Yes, it's a hobby of mine. And then in the other room, you can tell that the police officer is just, like, having a meltdown, like, can't take it. Like, literally is about to go in there and lose his virginity and then,
It's
like,
so
stops
odd.
himself.
But I'm also, like, unclear if he's, like, seeing her in, like...
I don't know. I
seeing
can't
visions
tell.
of her. It seems like he is.
It seems like he's, like, experiencing whatever she's putting out,
Yeah.
if you will. But
pretty
from a different
powerful.
room.
But I'm also like, why she got such a thing for him?
Well,
People love outsiders.
No, I think it's like, and so that's part of the thing that's, we can talk about in Midsommar too, but it's like about seducing the outsider.
Yeah.
And getting him in and getting him captured.
Because everyone on the island's related, so...
That's probably true. That's definitely true.
So more weird things that are happening. The children are very involved in the May Day celebrations, which is different than Midsommar,
it is. Yeah.
which we'll talk about in a little bit. But he, like, walks into a classroom, and this, like, teacher is teaching these children about how the maypole is, like, a phallic symbol.
Yes.
And he's like, these are children!
Yeah. And what's truly hilarious to me about all of his reactions to everything, Howie...
Yeah, he's continually outraged.
He's so outraged, but he's not outraged in an American way, which is like, I'm outraged, but I'm gonna be really, like, quiet and just give you a weird look about it, and then I'll go home and, like, type about it on the internet. He, like, walks in, stops the class, and is like, "You're poisoning these children," and, like, he's literally interrupting their daily life and stepping in, which is very different.
And the most intense part about this movie, I feel like, is that, like, he is, like, seemingly, like, a crazy person. He's, like, yelling, and everyone who's actually doing all these crazy things is just like, oh, interesting. You think we're crazy?
Yes.
Like,
oh my god, yeah. And even
that
when
school teacher's like, well, I'm gonna keep teaching him this.
So, and something I think is really interesting about Howie is that because he is a man of the law, and he's a Catholic, and that's how he understands life, these people are not technically doing anything illegal. So he can't stop anything that's happening.
Right.
Where he's usually, I'm assuming, used to having the power to be like, you stop that, because I'm the police. Okay. And he keeps saying that. He's like, I'm a police. He keeps saying he's a police officer. And they're all just like, okay.
Cool.
Like, whatever,
Welcome.
man. And it's just great.
So in that classroom scene, he does ask them if anyone's seen Rowan. They all act like she's not there. She doesn't exist.
Yes, they act like she's never existed.
Yes.
They don't know who she is.
And then he's like, her name's on the roster.
Yes.
I don't know how he finds the roster now.
He just grabs it from somewhere.
He just grabs it. Anyway.
But at that point, I will say...
Oh, they're also...
go ahead.
Sorry, the other scene that I found so upsetting was that the scene where the mom, like... Is it a mom? Puts the toad in the little girl's mouth.
Because she has a sore throat.
She has a sore throat.
So it's like, clearly they have a different way of dealing with things.
And no medicine there.
Yes.
So keep going.
I lost it.
The next thing I was gonna say.
Sure.
Is, so the school teacher is the one that tells him finally about her burial plot, Rowan's burial plot. He asks the leader for permission to go to dig up her grave. And then the leader kind of explains that they've had this tradition of, that, like, basically they're all pagan because this leader's grandfather said, like, if we worship these pagan gods, our harvest will flourish.
Yes.
And so
it did.
It did.
For
and
years.
It did.
Yeah.
And so there was always someone, like, I guess they pick a May Queen, brings, a harvest to them, and then they continue on with this tradition. But the police sergeant finds a picture of Rowan, this little girl, amidst empty harvest boxes.
Yes.
So the sacrifice failed, clearly. And so then he's still on his quest to find her.
Yes. They realize that this year something has gone wrong.
Yes.
They did not have a harvest. Even when he gets there, he has dinner and they feed him food like out of cans or something. And he's like, aren't you guys like known for your produce? Like, this is really weird. And I did remember what I was going to say now, which is that in the school scene, that is the moment where we understand that not only are the adults hiding something, but the kids, everyone knows something that that Howie does not.
Right.
And that is like, okay, now we're really us against them.
Yeah. Yes. Faux show. And then that's pretty much it. Then we go, I didn't want to ruin too much.
Did we say the dancing around the fire naked?
Oh, no, we haven't talked about that.
I love the dancing around the fire naked.
There is that.
And he's shocked by it. Because apparently, even though they all looked like adults to me, but he keeps saying they're kids.
They're kids. Yeah.
Kids. Maybe even teenagers.
Yeah.
I don't know. But they're just dancing naked around the
There's
around
a lot
the fire.
of dancing naked. A lot of dancing naked, a lot of singing.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
There's some scary animal masks, but then we get into, like, the final scene, pretty much.
Yes. And there is also a moment where he... every year there is like some sort of picture of the celebration.
Oh, this is all your stuff. I just saw. Sorry.
Oh, I wrote something? Me?
I was like reading this. I was reading this and I was like, these are my notes. And I was like, they're probably Felicia's.
I should have changed sections.
No. I was just trying to make sense of it.
Yes. But basically, as the movie starts spiraling towards the end, I'll say, he's really getting really upset about not being able to find this little girl. And is so sure that they're hiding her somewhere, and he can't find her, and so he is literally...
Oh, we should also say inside her burial plot is a rabbit.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember
It's her other form.
Oh, it's her other form.
They're like, that's Rowan in her other form. And he's like, what the
Yeah, and they also... yeah, okay, well, we'll get to themes in a second, I guess. But, so he's like literally breaking into everyone's house trying to find her, and they're just making fun of him in a way. Like, there's this one part where, like, a different little girl, like, pretends to be dead to scare him.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's just like, yeah, come on in here, rip this place apart, man. Like, whatever you gotta do to feel better about yourself. Like, it's very strange that he's, like, really spiraling. And then he decides that he is going to go take a nap. I don't know if you wanted a full plot summary, but that's what we're giving you today. He goes to take a nap, and he overhears that they're going to give him some sleeping situations going on, so he doesn't wake up for a long time. And he assumes that's because they're going to go do whatever ritual that he's found out about, which is basically what he assumes is going to be a child sacrifice. He assumes that they have her somewhere, and they're going to kill her in order to get better crops.
Yeah.
Yes. And so he when they walk away, he's like, okay, I'm awake, and realizes they have a burning hand next to his head, which is supposed to be lulling him into his sleep, I guess. I don't know.
Didn't work.
I don't know what that was about. But it was a fun visual.
Yes.
And then he knocks out like the innkeeper bar dude and uses his costume to go to the ceremony, to the main...
In disguise.
He's
got a mask on. Everyone's wearing animal masks.
Everyone's wearing animal masks.
Super scary animal masks.
Yes.
The super scary animal masks come later.
Oh, no. I think
or are they wearing them at the ritual?
They're even wearing them, like, around town.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, like,
Okay.
yeah. And
I couldn't remember. I'm just remembering that scene where they come up over the wall.
Yeah.
Right at the end.
So good. And it's funny because it reminded me of, like, if you guys saw the Pet Sematary remake, the trailer of that, they kept showing all these kids in animal masks, and it was like so cool, so creepy, and they did absolutely nothing with it in the film. And this, it like works much better, I think.
It works really well.
Yeah.
But they do play this like scary game at the ritual where they like put their head through these like blades. And that they're like one by one going through the blades, and then like somebody, it goes off on someone and it's like a fake head.
There's a lot going on.
It's a lot. A lot of ritual. I don't know if we should just literally ruin it now.
Yeah, it's from the 70s. I think we can ruin it.
Okay. But so basically they reveal that he is going to be the sacrifice.
Yes.
He finds Rowan.
Yes, she tricks him to follow
her as she runs, and he's like, I'm going to save you. And then she's like, ah ha
ha. Ha ha ha, gotcha. And then they put him in a giant Wicker Man, and they burn him alive.
Yeah. With live animals.
And it's
Very
this
upsetting.
big sacrifice so that they can have good crops again.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Yes.
So, now we're going to sort of talk about it with Midsommar. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Wicker Man specifically?
I want to bring up one thing just because I don't think it's going to come up in the Midsommar conversation. And it's sort of back to talking about the differing religions going on in this one.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting that, Christopher Lee's character is very understanding of the fact that he is, like, a Catholic. And he's like, oh, yes, the Catholics, like, they tried that. It didn't work. We get better results here as pagans, blah, blah, blah. And he's very understanding in a way, even though he's going to end up sacrificing him alive. But how he is so resistant.
Yes.
Which I do think will come up again later.
Yes. And it does feel like it is, I mean, it's like half that his beliefs are like law related and half that his beliefs are religion, but it does feel like a lot more religion than Midsommar.
Yes. Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah. And total, like, lack of any attempt at understanding any of it.
Yes.
Just, like, full
outraged,
refusal.
like, from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now Midsommar.
Yes.
I won't give, like, as full a plot, because I feel like there are more people that
haven't seen it yet.
But
Totally.
it's similar themes where, like, a couple, except that it's a couple and a group of people. A couple and then a friend group are traveling abroad to Sweden to visit their friend's hometown for its fabled Midsummer Festival.
Yes.
And then things get weird. Pretty much.
Yes, things get weird.
When they realize it's a cult.
Yes. They arrive and they're, a couple of members are there to really, like, study the anthropology of what's going on here because it's, like, a society that has been relatively untouched by the outside world. Like,
yes.
They do, when you get to a certain age in the society, they travel out, which is how we meet our character. What's his name? Pete? I always forget his name. I'm sorry. But they sort of, they venture out into the world, they see the world, and then they come back home. And that's where they live. Also, this is Ari Aster, if you don't know. He is the guy that did Hereditary in 2018, just for a little reference in case, I'm assuming most people know about Midsommar, but it's very possible that someone does not.
Is it Pele?
Yeah, Pele. Yeah. Pele.
Unclear
I
to
think
me.
I would remember, but I don't. But yeah.
But I will say it starts with, I mean, the plot itself starts with, like, them going into their friend's home. So it already has a tone of, like, acceptance, and they're trying to, like, learn about the culture, and they're trying to...
they're happy to be there.
And it does feel like kind of like a, not a vacation, but, like, they're going there to, like, get away.
Absolutely.
Instead of, like, our poor police sergeant who's literally coming in to try to figure out a crime. So it's like he's on the defense from the beginning.
Very different vibe.
Yes. But it does have, like, a similar reveal of where it's like, actually, that's not really true. In Wicker Man, I feel like right away, he's like, there are people having sex!
Yes, there's something weird here.
But I feel like in Midsommar, it is more of, like, a slow burn of, like, something is not right. But you do know pretty immediately.
Yeah, well, I think they accept immediately. There are going to be rituals and things that they don't understand, and they really, like, show that. Like, even it's, like, clear they're wearing American clothes, and, everyone else is not. They're in their very, like, Swedish, what's that word? Ceremonial outfits, if you will. And it's clear they don't understand the culture. They're sitting at the wrong times. They're standing at the wrong times. But they're listening, and they're extremely open. and there's like an open line of communication between both parties.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, even though they do start out differently, there is like a similar theme of it starting off with like a traumatic thing.
Absolutely.
Even though, you know, Danny in Midsommar is not necessarily like going to figure out what happened, but it is like that sort of like
she
catapults her into.
She goes through a big tragedy, and her boyfriend, who are on the rocks, are traveling there, and so she is really like she is going through something already, and she is trying to like rediscover what life is going to be now, but yeah, definitely I hadn't really thought about that, but they do both start out with like a trauma of some sort,
right? Some other just similarities that are sort of like what Felicia was talking about with folk horror as well. Where they have these like creepy rituals that include most of the time a lot of sex stuff,
or violence.
There's maybe some mind-altering drugs, like that weird burning hand, like the.
Oh yes, there's definitely mind-altering drugs in Midsommar.
In Midsommar for sure, but in Wicker Man, I feel like even that scene with the girl seducing him through the bedroom wall, like something funky and.
That's interesting.
Psychedelic
I hadn't thought about that connection, but yeah.
Flower headdresses.
It's true.
I will say the other thing that we discussed with Wicker Man, where he's so outraged and angry, but everyone's kind of greeting him with like, everything is fine. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that sort of thing definitely carries over to Midsommar, where, you know, as soon as like I think like the first two like random people who go missing, or maybe it's the girl that goes missing first.
It's the guy first.
Yeah,
she's like, why would he leave me? He would never leave me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like they're so angry, and again, like the community's like, oh, they just went to the store, like, oh, everything's fine. But they have like these kind of like chilling, friendly attitudes, even while these like horrific things are happening.
Yeah.
And this other sort of theme of like isolation that we were talking about with folk horror, where the protagonists are in a community where they are the outsider, they're separated from everyone, and it's similar to like, you know, being in the middle of the woods in a cabin, where it's like that does make it easier for horror to happen.
And I think in both of these, like in terms of them being isolated, like he in Wicker Man, I think he talks about like it would take him like a week to get home and back to like bring any backup, if you will. You know, Danny is halfway across the world
with no family,
Spoiler. no one else to turn to other than her boyfriend that they're not getting along with, that's next to her,
who's terrible.
Who's just terrible. But yeah, it's like they're both just like stranded, if you will. Yeah.
The next thing I was going to say, the two communities have, which I feel like now is also just like kind of a pagan thing, but they have a sort of similar outlook on death, where in the Wicker Man, you know, they see the dead rabbit and he claims it's like her other form. So they believe in reincarnation or being, you know, transferred into nature somehow. And in Midsommar, the community believes that the dead are not actually dead, but they live on in nature, or other members of the community that have their same name, which I totally forgot.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that weird?
I forgot about that, too.
I was like, what if you have a really common name?
Yeah.
Got a lot of souls inside of you?
That is interesting. Yeah, but it is definitely a thing of, like, death being a continuation of life versus, you know, a very Christian version of, like, death is the end of this life. And then you will go to heaven or hell or whatever. But that's the end of your time on earth, where in these other religions, it's all like a circle.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I like.
I like that too.
We're pagans.
Yeah, we're pagans now.
No. They both sort of focus on, this is also folk horror, the like power of mass belief, where like this whole community believes this whole, you know, has the same sense of morals and skewed whatever, and
really blind belief, I feel like, which is the cult aspect of it, which I always find so fascinating. Like, some of my favorite like true crime stories are like cult stuff, just because it's always amazing to me the lack of questioning that's going on. It's like, and these particular, like all these kids that you see in Midsommar, Wicker Man, like they're born into this, right? They're not being brainwashed or anything, or I mean, guess maybe in a way it is, but it's like if you're born into it, like you have the belief of your parents and your family, your community, and it's like there is no question of like, is this the way? But I don't know about Wicker Man because I don't know if they go into this part of their culture. But in Midsommar, you do have where at a certain age you are supposed to go out into the world and experience things, which isn't that also a thing in like Amish culture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, those TLC shows, right?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Have you seen those like Amish people in New York?
No.
TV shows?
Should I watch that?
Let's just see what that's
Is
called.
there a trailer?
Breaking Amish.
Breaking Amish?
Yeah.
So they like get a cell phone?
Oh, but actually, never mind. That's them breaking away from being Amish.
Oh,
so very different.
That's different. That is different. But yeah. But there is something about that. But that I don't know if that's a thing in Wicker Man. It doesn't seem to be.
No. It seems like they just kind of stay there.
They stay there. Yeah.
So then the final... Is it final? I think it's kind of final. The final similarity that I want to talk about is the ending, because it feels very dead on to me. Where, like, yes, in the Wicker Man, the police sergeant goes into this giant Wicker Man statue along with other animals. And the villagers, like, kind of sing around it, right? Do they sing?
Wait,
They surround it. The villagers.
Yes.
Surround the Wicker Man. And sing?
Yes, and they're swaying.
Yeah. Feels a little like
smiling.
the Grinch.
Yes, it does feel like the Grinch. Oh my god, it's definitely like... Sorry?
She's a singer.
Where did that happen?
But in Midsommar, Danny's boyfriend is put in a disemboweled bear and then placed in the temple along with sacrifices and set ablaze as the villagers like scream.
Yes.
They wail on the outside, except for Danny, who is like wailing at first and then smiles.
Sort of smiling.
She likes it.
And are we doing differences in like a separate part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Soon.
Great.
That's the next section. But I just wanted to say this is the Nick Cage movie.
Okay.
Is that Nick Cage disguises himself in a bear costume for the ritual.
What?
So Midsommar was looking at the Wicker Man remake.
Yes. Yeah, I love the idea of Ari Aster looking to the remake of Wicker Man for inspiration. That is hilarious.
What kind of animal do we put him in?
Let's see. Oh, Nicolas Cage looks so good in a bear costume.
It's got to be something with pagan cultures, and I'm
sure
sorry for being offensive, but I did notice that.
That's very, very funny.
So now, differences.
Great.
You want to go? Should I keep going?
Mine are not going to be in the right order, I'm assuming.
I don't know. There's no order.
Okay, I'll talk.
Go.
The first thing that I feel like I really noticed is while there is a similarity in the openness about like sexuality in both of these culty places, it definitely seems that Midsommar seems to have a very different view around violence.
Yeah.
Whereas Wicker Man, there's not really any violence in Wicker Man. Like, it does, there's a lot of Wicker Man that almost doesn't feel like a horror movie until the end.
Yeah.
Sort of feels like a crime
drama,
thriller, I don't even know. Because there's not a lot of, like, blood. Yeah.
Pop out scares.
Exactly. Where in...
It's also not, like, it doesn't... Well, keep going.
It's fine. But in Midsommar, yeah, there's, like, a lot of, like, real horror moments of... not even just in terms of, like, cycle of life stuff, but also in terms of, like, how they're sacrificing people and all those things. Like, it seems to be a lot more colorful, I'll say.
Yes. And, like, the opening scene in Midsommar, like, that first trauma that she experiences is very, like, gross looking.
It's brutal, yeah.
And intense. So I was going to say, like, the biggest difference I found that we actually have talked about a little bit along the way, and I didn't think we were going to as much, but is that, the police sergeant dies because, maybe he's so stuck in his way or he's not, like, accepting of the culture, where, like, Danny fully embraces that culture.
Yes.
And kind of becomes the queen. I mean, she is the May Queen.
Yeah,
but, like, sort of becomes, like, the queen of her surroundings, where she's, like, the most...
Yes.
of this world.
Absolutely. She, like, releases into it.
Yeah. And loses her old self, She
yeah. And
burns her boyfriend alive.
It's true. And it really, I think it's an interesting thing where it seems like, so the Wicker Man, they're really drawing this person in literally for this sacrifice. They say at some point, like, it's better to have, like, a full adult man or whatever. And so there really is negative intention there. Even though it's positive intention for the group, it's negative intention for this one person. And in Midsommar, it really feels more like bringing people in to actually become a part of the cult.
Yeah.
Versus just to die. Because
except that they all die.
Yeah, but I don't think they necessarily mean for that to happen. Like, I
can't tell.
Because some of them, I think, die. Like, I think that one couple dies because they want to leave.
Right.
I think that another character dies because he disgraces a very important tree. Like, there's things that happen. Oh, the other guy, like, looks at the secret book. Like, I feel like they do wrong.
You're right.
Yeah, I actually am literally realizing this as I'm saying it for the first time. I never thought about this before.
She's so smart. She's having an epiphany.
I wish I had said it in my review a million months ago.
Now go back and watch her review from a million months ago.
But it's interesting that it's like they want different kinds of blood to come in because they also, I think they talk about the fact that there's like these really detailed charts to make sure that they don't have like too much incest unless it's intentional incest.
Right.
We don't like it.
No incest.
But yeah, they like need new people to come in, and they want people. And this is like the cult thing. It's like the Manson family thing. It's of all cults where it's like you bring in people that are really vulnerable and very susceptible to the teachings because they need something really badly. Like they need a home or they need friendship. They need family. They need these things. Which are truly like basic human needs, and so it makes sense. But people can be easily taken advantage of. And I would say Dani she enters this place in the most vulnerable state imaginable.
Yeah.
And that seems to be why Pele is like, you have to come.
Yeah. Yeah. I always wonder when you were talking about it, I was like, I wonder if he knows she's like gonna be the May Queen.
I don't know. I wonder.
Guess not.
Because I guess you have to win.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, like, outsiders have won before, or if this is, like, a very new thing.
And even when I was watching it back, I was like, did they just let her win?
But it goes on for so long.
It does. It does.
I don't know. Hard to know.
I want to be the May Queen.
I know, right? So many flowers.
She's so beautiful.
I also, we forgot to talk about, as a similarity, the horror movie In Daylight.
Oh, yes.
That was on here. I saw it. I just forgot to say it. But yes, both of these are horror movies that have a lot of daylight scenes, and a lot of the horror, the scary things happen while the sun is still out. Which is scary. And I think it's much more so in Midsommar.
Yes, I was going to say, I feel like there are like night scenes in Wicker Man.
Yeah. I think there are.
Definitely.
It's also like a gloomier, I think they filmed it in like the fall or something. Like it's a gloomier time of year. It's not so like...
Maybe Scotland versus Sweden.
Sure, exactly.
I don't know.
I think Scotland's probably rainy.
It feels like London rainy.
I don't know.
We haven't been there.
But in Midsommar, it definitely feels more intentional to be this really bright movie.
Yes.
That's that.
Oh, this is what I was going to say earlier when you were talking about, like, feeling, is that, like, Midsommar feels more like a traditional horror movie to me, where, like, my theater when I saw Midsommar was, like, laughing a lot. Right,
yes.
Where it's, like, Wicker Man, I did not feel, except a couple times with, like, because, like, there are children!
Yes,
but, like,
totally.
just because it's dated, and less about, like, the director wants me to laugh here.
Absolutely.
Where, like, Midsommar, there's so many more times that you, like, are just like, this is ridiculous.
I also feel like, and this is very funny to me, because a lot of people, I read a lot of comments about this when the movie first came out, where people were like, everyone had very different theater-going experiences, I will say. And so some people were very angry at the fact that people laughed a lot during Midsommar. I laughed a lot during Midsommar, to be clear, and I am a horror movie fanatic. And so it really, even like during the sex scene that I know is like very serious, it's outrageous. It's sort of this thing where it's like, I'm not even laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's so it's so like, I'm like, what? Like I'm, I don't know.
Which is like what I kind of felt like Hereditary was like lacking. So
right, totally.
Feels like Midsommar.
There was like more
lets
space.
You laugh.
Yes. Yeah. But Wicker Man, I will say, definitely feels a little bit more like kind of lenient and be like, what? Even though there are like weird, shocking things, like them being like teaching kids about like phallic imagery and things like that. Like that, but maybe
could be
because
funny.
it's dated, it doesn't feel that way to me. But maybe when it first came out, it felt that way. I'm not sure.
But it does feel like, and it feels very, like, real.
Yeah.
Or, like, trying to be grounded in realism.
Totally.
Where, like, Midsommar is real, but, like, there are so many things that you're just like, that would never happen that way.
Yeah.
But we talked about this mostly, but Wicker Man feels much more about the clash of religions, I feel, where Midsommar's less about the specific religions.
Yeah. Like, no one talks about, or none of the Americans talk about their religions, right?
Not really.
I don't think it ever really comes up. Or, like, any of their belief systems, really.
Right. And even like, I feel like in Midsommar, I forgot this until I was researching this, but the people take turns writing the sacred texts in the community.
Really? I thought it was just like the prophet.
Guy. Yeah. But I guess because he hasn't been the prophet forever.
Oh, right. It's like whoever the new prophet is. So it's written by many people.
Right.
Yes.
And not just like a deity.
That's true.
Which is like in Wicker Man, they're all, they're worshiping deities.
Yes, they're following one thing.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
I think that's all I had to say.
Yeah. I also really, even though I don't think about it much in Midsommar, it's funny because, like, the marketing of Midsommar was so much about, like, the deformed incest guy that is, like, sort of their prophet or whatever, or intentional prophet. I don't know exactly how to say it. Even though he's not a big plot point in it, something I actually enjoyed was the fact that his writings were paintings, and then they had to be, like, interpreted. I just thought that was really interesting. And I can't remember now in Wicker Man, is there a sacred text? Or is it just, like, tradition of songs and things like that?
It doesn't feel like anybody's, like, studying a book.
Yeah, like, I can't remember, like, there's not, like, a church.
No,
I also don't know
like,
anything. I don't know a lot about, like, how do they learn about their paganism? Is it, like, through school? Is it just through these other activities? Word of mouth? Is it taught in the home? I'm assuming it's, like, a mix of all of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And something else that I think is interesting as, like, a difference between the two is Wicker Man, they seem to be a little bit more capitalized. Like, what am I trying to say? Like, there are businesses. Yeah. There are bars. There are candy stores. There are these things versus Midsommar feels like everyone does everything.
Right.
And it's much more like a communal, like, farming.
No contact with outside world.
Yeah, no contact with outside world. They're not trading or they're not exporting things. Like, yeah, like, to Wicker Man, they're exporting their produce.
And it seems, I mean, maybe this is just me not watching it closely enough, but it felt to me like they were much more like outsiders come in and out.
Right? Oh, right. I think so.
Instead of, like, that so was, like, Midsommar was like, okay, these people are coming this time of year, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually forgot about how Wicker Man even started until I was listening to a podcast about it today. But it's, like, the reason he finds out about this little girl is missing is he gets, like, an anonymous letter. Yeah. And he just goes. Yeah. Like, he doesn't, like, call or do any research or anything. He just, like, gets a tip, basically, and then just goes by himself. Yeah. Which I think is very strange. I also wonder, like, how they, like, picked him.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was like, I wonder if they sent 30 letters, and he was just the only one
that showed up. That would be very funny.
It's like Mamma Mia, but
yeah,
only one person. Is that maybe it?
Maybe. I have not been exposed to a lot of folk horror movies.
Me neither. I'm excited to, like, look into it more.
Yes. So if you guys have folk horror recommendations, please put them down in the comments.
Yes.
Literally, to tell the truth, my, like, horror movie club, everyone out there is so much smarter than me, to be, like, so real. Like, every week they give me, like, 20 movies to watch, and I'm just like, oh my god.
She watches one.
I try so hard. But it is true. Like, I want to know more folk horror movies. I know we did mention a couple here. We mentioned Witchfinder General, Blood on Satan's Claws. But if you guys know any more, especially any that came out
more recently,
anytime past, like, the 80s, I would be curious about, because it feels like these three are the unholy trinity are, like, really collected in, like, the 60s, 70s. And I'm like, did this subgenre, like, go away for a while?
Right.
Like, I don't really know the history of it. But maybe you do, so let us know.
Let us know.
All right, I think that's it.
All right. We will
See you later.
See you later.
And have some sweet, sweet nightmares.
There we go.
Bye.
Bye.